All right, there he is. How are you?
Hey Paul, I'm good. How are you?
Doing wonderful. Thank you. So good to see you on here today. Welcome to Dallas.
Thank you very much. Happy to be back.
Yeah, we're so happy to have you here because, of course, it's great to be able to meet the fans, but the Dallas Comic Show is so cool. It's a nice intimate thing where everybody can get a chance to, just hang out and get to meet all the people that they love. And so, these are fun things to do when you can, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, you described it perfectly. Because having been to Dallas Comic Show before, it is a really nice, like intimate feel. And there's always a nice mix of guests and kind of something for everyone, for all the fans.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, of course, we get to be at the Texas Theater and watch Toy Story 3. To me, the saddest, the most devastating, tear-inducing one on the big screen with you. And that's got to be fun because, when you get to revisit it, probably brings up so many good memories, right?
Yes, absolutely. I'm really, really looking forward to the Toy Story 3 screening. And you mentioned the emotion, which is the number one thing I hear from those, who've seen it, that final scene is so emotional. And it was very emotional for me personally to record. And so every time I watch it, I get emotional as well, because it's really about it's like Andy is kind of closing the door on his childhood. He's off to college. One chapter of the book is ending, another chapter is beginning.
Mm. Yeah, and of course, I think the kind of notoriety that you have, being well known as a voice actor, is probably the best kind of fame because you can walk amongst everybody and do go about your business and do everything and then you still get to see people enjoy it and probably brings a smile to your face every time you see any kind of merch or any kind of toys. And
Absolutely. Yeah, that is very true to how it is. The interesting thing is when I attend events and then people, not only hear me, but then they recognize me, because I'm at the event, I feel a little bit more of that what on camera, actors experience. But absolutely, whenever I see anything Toy Story related or The Nightmare Before Christmas or, the other projects I've been part of, I do have it does bring a smile to my face, and I love hearing from fans like which Toy Story is your favorite and why, and when did you first watch that movie or those films, and yeah.
what do people want to hear about the most? Do they want to hear about the Toy Story times or Nightmare Before Christmas or even some of the games? What do they most want to ask you about?
So I think I'm most, recognized as my work as Andy. But then sometimes people do kind of come up to the table and they want to talk about Nightmare Before Christmas. They're, huge Nightmare Before Christmas fans, and so they want to hear kind of those behind the scenes stories. And I think behind the scenes stories in general are of interest, with recording and attending the premieres and attending related events and kind of memories I have and such. And I always love sharing those.
Yeah. Well, and I know kids will look up to you and they'll say, "This is what I want to do. This sounds like the most fun job in the world." And sometimes it is, but it's not that easy to get into or stay into. And so, what kind of advice would you give to somebody who wants to follow in your footsteps and do what you do?
I always, yeah, whenever anyone asks me, like, how do I get into voice acting? I always recommend that they start with a class, a voiceover class, a voiceover workshop, or work with a voiceover coach. I offer voiceover coaching on Zoom. And so, I've started to meet with people and fans and aspiring voice actors that way. And because I think it's important to actually get a sense of what it is and how to, step into characters using your voice and all the different kinds of voiceover because it's a pretty kind of broad range, in terms of formats and such. And so yeah, I always say start with a class, start with a workshop and see if you really like it and then kind of go from there.
Yeah, because I think what people don't realize, it is kind of lonely just being in the booth, and sometimes it's a very solitary thing, especially now since you can do these things at home, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, really with the pandemic it shifted and a lot of, actors set up home studios and kind of recording remotely. And I read a statistic the other day that there are now, 3 million podcasts. So it's really interesting what kind of happened with, the pandemic in that way. And when you're recording, as you mentioned, like solo, you really have to kind of direct yourself. And so that's an art in and of itself, and so you really learn how to kind of do that. And I feel like I'm still learning how to do that, but
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my co-host Drew Pearson, one of our great Dallas Cowboys, went into the Hall of Fame, caught the Hail Mary. We're so proud of him. He wanted me to make sure that I asked you your Hail Mary moment, which is that moment in your life or career where you just had to go for it and it worked out for you. What do you suppose that was for you?
that's a great question. I think actually being cast as Andy in Toy Story. Um, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the story of that, but they asked us to bring a favorite toy to the audition, and I was 7 years old, and I brought all my X-Men figures. And because to me that was one toy. And my mom said, "No, that's too many." They said, "Pick one toy." And I said, "This is one toy and they'll get it." And so I was really insistent, even though that I kind of broke the rules. I brought, like 20 X-Men figures and I was playing with them and I was creating the voices and just, being really imaginative. And then they later said, "Well, that's what Andy does. That's how Andy plays with his toys." And so because I followed my instinct as a 7-year-old and said, "I need to bring all my X-Men figures." I think that was really an interesting kind of lesson for me. And it was memorable to them.
Yeah, and of course now people meet you and they're like Andy, like say something, right? They do that to you all the time.
Yeah, that does happen a lot. Like I may not be recognized my face, but people will say, "You sound familiar. I feel like I know you. I feel like I've, because my voice is a little bit lower than Andy in Toy Story 3, but they can pick up kind of the texture." Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you are Andy, and you've created so many great memories, which is so awesome. And
Oh,
like I
thank
was
you.
saying, it's tough business. But what's so cool is that it can be great, but also we talk about that success mindset on the show. Is there something you tell yourself that keeps you on the right path even when things are tough?
Yeah, I think really actually kind of going back to the pandemic, I had a good friend, actually really one of my best friends who I was talking to a lot on the phone. And she was saying to me, the only way through this is forward. And that actually really helped me. And that really helps me in general. It's like when something feels difficult or something in my personal or professional life, it's like keep moving forward, and like keep with that momentum. And that has really helped me with my success and as I'm moving forward.
That's great. Well, so what are people going to bring to you this weekend? They have action figures, they have comics. What do you usually see at these things?
Yeah, it runs the gamut. I do sign a lot of boots, so I sign a lot of like people will bring their Woody toy and I'll sign the boot with the backwards
Mhm.
N, or the Buzz, or and then sometimes they want, photos signed, which they've brought, or DVDs, sometimes VHS tapes,
Wow.
just really posters, a lot of posters. And it's actually really exciting. Sometimes I see like a project in progress, like they're having the whole cast sign
Mhm.
the poster. And of course, that will take years, most likely, because they have to wait till they're in the
Mhm.
same vicinity as the cast member and whatnot. But that's always an honor. Like, oh my gosh, John Ratzenberger has signed it, and Jodie Benson, and Tom Hanks, and Tim Allen, and then I'm adding my name, and so that's always exciting.
That's so cool. And do you get to do anything fun while you're here? Anything Dallas centric? Anything Texas wise? Barbecue, beer, anything like that?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned barbecue because I always get excited about the barbecue when I'm in Texas because it's so good. So yeah, definitely want to experience some barbecue. And then I'm looking forward to that Toy Story 3 screening at the Texas Theater on Sunday.
Yes.
And the Texas Theater looks cool, and I've never been there, so I'm excited
Yeah.
to check it out.
Yeah. But you're actually, I believe we can claim you as a Texan, right? You were born in Paris, Texas. Is that right?
You know, I think that is published online, but it's actually
Uh,
not
Okay.
accurate. And I
I
need
was
to figure
wondering,
out
I
how
was
to
like,
yeah,
okay.
I grew up I was born in California and I grew up there, and for some reason it's so funny whenever I'm in Texas people do come up and they're like, "You were born in Texas." I'm like, "I have to figure out how to get that off the internet." But I haven't figured it out yet.
Well, there could be worse things on the internet. It's okay.
Right, yeah. I guess there's another John Morris who was born in Paris, Texas. I don't know.
Ah, well, that's so funny. Well, and then last thing, what can we look forward to hearing your voice in or seeing you in coming up? Because it's always special when we see you do something.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I was just cast in a project that I'm really excited about. It's going to be a series. I wish I could say more about it than I can at this point, but I can say that it's kind of it's set in the future, so it has kind of like a post-apocalyptic,
Uh,
vibe. And I'm one of the lead characters, so I'm really excited about diving into that. The script is really great. So that's happening. And then I'm sure people know that Toy Story 5 is in development and it
yeah.
comes out in 2026. Um, I do not know it at this point. I know there are kind of things online and rumors and such, but I don't know what the story is about at this point from Disney and Pixar. So I need to stay tuned like everyone else at this point. But that's cool that another Toy Story is in the works. I'm
Yeah.
excited about that. Yeah.
Uh,
And then I'm also I'm still a professional voice actor, so I'm just
yeah.
recording things daily, weekly, and commercials and such. And then I also have been as I mentioned, doing some like voiceover coaching on Zoom, which has been great. And I also teach workshops and such. So it's really actually fulfilling to kind of introduce others to voiceover and kind of like pass the baton to younger aspiring voice actors.
Oh, that's so cool. Well, before we let you go, give us a plug for that because I know that a lot of people will be interested in
Yeah, so folks can find me, they can write me at John Morris voiceover at gmail.com. That's my voiceover email. And then you can find me on Instagram at John Charles Morris. I'm also on Cameo. So please reach out to me. I do really like to receive messages on Instagram and I respond to them. And so yeah, feel free to reach out.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, thank you so much. We're looking forward to seeing you at Dallas Comedy Show and as well as the Texas Theater. And we've got so many great memories attached to the Toy Story movies, and so we're gonna come and give you a big hug.
Thank you, Paul. I really
All right,
appreciate
thanks
it.
so much. I'll see you soon. Okay, bye bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.